The kilt has become a symbol of Scottishness. From weddings to sports crowds to military marches, we're inundated with images of Scotsmen in kilts. But where did it all start? I'm taking you to the V&A Museum in Dundee to see the first ever painting of a man in Highland dress. If you're interested in the people, places and events in Scottish history, then click the subscribe button at the bottom right of the screen and ring the notification bell to be told when I upload new videos. In the meantime, let me tell you a story. This is the exhibition to the history of tartan that's been running in the V&A in 2023. But I want to tell you about a particular item that took my interest. The first painting ever of a man in Highland dress. And this is it. Isn't he quite something? Gallant, handsome, immaculately dressed. A model of a Highland chieftain. Actually, Highland chieftain is the name of the painting, and there's an intriguing story behind it. In fact, it's a mystery story. You see, for centuries, nobody knew who this person was. The portrait was painted in 1683, and it's confidently claimed that this is the first portrait of a man in full Highland dress. Now, the guy who painted it is an interesting character in himself. John Michael Wright was an Englishman born and raised in London, but who apprenticed to a reputable portrait painter here in Scotland. Now, the wee scallywag sometimes claimed to be Scottish, but unlike the frequent times where a Scotsman's described as English by lazy foreigners who don't know the difference between England and the UK, or English folk who want to bask in our glory, I think this guy was an example of a genuine person who just wanted to upgrade.
What do you mean, upgrade?
Shut it. That's Matt, my videographer. He's still on probation. After Wright's studies, he went off to the continent and gained a reputation as an artist in Rome, became a member of the Accademia de San Luca, and an art advisor to the governor of the Spanish Netherlands, Archduke Leopold Wilhelm of Austria. He came back to England in 1658, and he was a court painter at the time of the restoration of Charles II. Now, some of you will know that this time was a messy mixture of politics and religion, and not the easiest time to be a Roman Catholic. Patronage from the restored Stuart monarchs, yes, but maybe a sojourn in Ireland wouldn't be a bad idea. The art boffins will tell you that it was when he was in Ireland that Wright painted this for the Duke of Ormond. In fact, there were 3 versions of the painting. A smaller one that might have been used as a practice run, one that hung in the Duke's residence in Kilkenny, and another that hung in his London townhouse in St James Square. But it didn't hang on its own, because Wright had done another full-length painting called Irish Chieftain, and they hung as a pair. Imagine, if you will, entering a grand London townhouse and an impressive hallway, and you approach a staircase curving left and right to an ornate landing, and 2 meticulously crafted, full-length, lifelike images of Celtic chieftains. One Irish and one Scots. I'll leave you to decide on the statement that he was making, but there can be no doubt he was making a statement. But nobody knew who the subjects of these paintings were. Then, in 1959, when the Tate Gallery bought the Irish Chieftain, they were having it cleaned up, and it was during that process that it revealed a name of the dog's hunting collar that matched writing on the back of the canvas. The Irish Chieftain was a real person called Sir Neil O'Neill. But who was this Highland Chieftain? He's certainly a young man. We now know that the subject was 15 at the time. We can see from his exquisite and hugely expensive clothes that he was of noble stock. Peter MacDonald, the Tartan historians, confirmed to me that the flow and the fold of the kilt and plaid means that this was meticulously painted to match reality. Now, obviously, it's not a family tartan because that idea hadn't been invented by this time. He's got a servant in the background carrying some of his hunting equipment, so he must be a bit posh. The fact that he's allowed to hunt at all tells us something about his status. Now, I'm not going to go through all the details of this painting. You'll find some very good videos on the Glasgow Museum's YouTube channel that'll do that. What I will point to is the wonderful Highland scenery in the background. Does that give you a locational clue to this young lad's identity? Cairngorms? West Highlands? Well, if your keen eye worked out that the background was the unmistakable moors of Highland Perthshire, then stop your nonsense, you roaster. It's made uppy. It was painted in Ireland, remember. Although Highland Perthshire is getting warmer. Unless you're a climate change denier, in which case the guy in the background's an elf, this is a picture taken in fairyland, and if you just send me a cheque to my Cayman Islands bank account, I'll send you an email with the exact location and a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. Anyway, in 1998, a lass called Jane Fenlon was researching the Ormond papers in the National Library of Ireland, and she found inventories for the contents of his houses at Kilkenny and St James Square. In 1689 and 1700, the records noted a picture of Sir Neil O'Neill in an Irish habit at length, a picture of Lord Murray's son in Highland habit at length. Aha! So the date and reference tell us that this must be a son of John Murray, 1st Marquess of Atholl. Only we know that the subject of the painting, Highland Chieftain, would never be a Highland Chieftain, because the 1713 inventory confirms which of Lord Murray's sons this was. It was Mungo Murray. Mungo was the 8th child and 5th son of the Marquess of Atholl, born on the 29th of February 1668. So, unless there was some elder brother killing disease sweeping the area from which only he survived, both the painter, the subject and the commissioner must have known Mungo Murray here would never be a chief. He would have to go off and find his own route to wealth, land and titles, probably in the military or by marrying some large dowried heiress. But the painting starts to make sense because Mungo was related to the Duke of Ormond on his mother's side. This was painted when he was with those relatives in Ireland as part of his education and development. The Celtic tradition of fostering and education with kin goes back all the way to before the birth of Scotland, when movements of chieftains' children back and forth across the Irish Sea was much more commonplace. Now, I'm not sure how well his academic education went, because later in life, his father, writing to his elder brother, says of Mungo, he can't write nor speak well. Mungo's prowess was military. The same letter tells of Mungo's military exploits further north in the Highlands. In fact, most of the written references to Mungo are about his martial activities in the 1680s and 90s, trampling through heather, weapons in hand and belted plaid over his shoulder. Just like this painting anticipates. In a letter of March 1698, his dad, who was so dismissive of his writing and speaking abilities, says of his military acumen that he's the ablest man in the country. So, military skills conquered. What about that big dowried heiress? Just before we talk about Mungo's search for a wife, Don't forget that I'm doing my live stand-up show Stories of Scotland in various places across Scotland and Canada in 2024. So click top right or check out the link in the description below for dates and tickets. Back to the story. Another letter between Mungo's relatives on the 26th of February 1699 tells us they'd made overtures of marriage to Margaret Campbell, daughter of Lord Cessnock. But she was strongly opposed to the idea. Maybe she wanted somebody who could write and speak well. The letter tells that Lord Cessnock and his lady has been very pressing with their daughter to accept of your brother for a husband, and that she would allow him a conference in private. But she positively refused both. Yesterday, I went with Cessnock to his house. He spoke to his daughter that my Lord Mungo was to visit her, which he came to do. She was civil enough and always cheerful in good company. But he's had no occasion as yet to prefer his service to her. My Lord Mungo, he's much concerned, for he's a real affection for the lady and is exceedingly vexed. But I do my best to comfort him by telling him many examples of women's adverseness at first. In the event, the next year, she married Alexander Hume, the future Earl of Marchmont. Not long after that letter, we found out from another that Mungo had moved to his brother's house at Huntingtower Castle on the edge of Perth. It tells of his restless spirit and frustration at lack of direction and progress. By the age of 31, this young, proud man seemed aimless, agitated, without direction or contentment. 6 months later, Mungo Murray set sail as one of the 1,000 people on 4 ships that headed off as part of the second expedition to Darien in September 1699. Now, for those of you who don't know, Scots had sought to join the ranks of nations making the most of European discovery and global expansion. The genius idea of settling a colony in the Isthmus of Panama to bridge the Pacific and Atlantic in anticipation of the Panama Canal was ahead of its time. Everyone in Scotland who had capital to invest did. Mungo's dad made a £500 investment himself. But when the genius idea met tropical disease, mosquitoes and Spanish, it turned into one of those schemes of mice and men that gang after glee. The first ships had set off on the 12th of July 1698. When Mungo arrived with the second wave on St Andrew's Day 1699, they discovered that our patron saint had abandoned the place, and so had everyone else. There was nothing but an empty fort and jungle. The second wave fared no better, and Lord Mungo Murray here was one of the many who died skirmishing with Spanish or succumbing to mosquitoes. He lies buried in the jungles of Panama, but his real memorial is the first portrait ever of a Scotsman in Highland dress, painted in Ireland by an Englishman. Beautifully detailed and many layered, but when we identify the person painted, we find more layers still. By the time this video goes up, the painting might be back in the National Portrait Gallery in Edinburgh. The partner copy is in the Kelvin Grove Art Gallery in Scotland. But I made this video because of the tartan exhibition here at the V&A in Dundee. Why not pop in sometime and see what inspires you? If you're interested in the history of the kilt or tartan in general, then there's a video coming up on screen now. Support the channel by clicking top right to become a Patreon member, or buy me a coffee in the description below. Ha mi an dóchas gyn bí lá málaid. Cheery and drasta.